to Warehouse Cinemas there in Frederick. Oh, excuse me. There is one on Leitersburg, but Frederick's is kind of like the original location. Nice location. We went to go see basically the new Ninja Turtles movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Um, it's good for a kiddie flick. And I know a lot of people are going to get salty with me for saying that. Because like, oh, well, Ninja Turtles is a kid's thing. Au contraire, mon frere. It's not. The original comic books were dark, were very grim, were very gritty. Basically, in the original comics, the Turtles were a hit squad to take out Oroku Saki, the Shredder, for killing Hamato Yoshi and his wife, who only killed Hamato Yoshi and his wife because Hamato had basically killed what's his name? Oroku Nagi, which was Saki's brother. And so that's why the Shredder got involved in this whole vengeance kick and formed the Foot Clan in the United States. But the brothers were basically trained as assassins to take out the Shredder, to complete the vicious circle of destruction. And in the original comics, the Turtles swore, they drank beer, it wasn't all pizza and colorful masks. April O'Neil was not a news reporter. She actually worked for Baxter Stockman, who was into robotics, who had developed the Mausers to hunt rats in New York City, but in reality, he was using it to steal money. And yeah, like the whole storyline's completely different. The Shredder's killed off in the first issue, though obviously he returns because of popularity. But the story is so much more thicker in the original comics than what we get now, because they were grim, they were dark, they were gritty. The 1990 Turtles movie, at least the first part of it, is the first issue of the first comic book. The whole confrontation with the Shredder, the whole 9 yards. Then at the farmhouse is later issues of the more adult Turtles. It wasn't TGRI, it was TCRI, which was Techno Cosmic Research Industries. And it gets into the whole Umtron things, because Krang isn't really a thing. There's like these little aliens that are tiny that inhabit human-looking bodies. It's a very different comic book. Everybody goes, oh, it's kid stuff. Read the original comics. I want another dark interpretation instead of kidified.
I don't think The Last Ronin was kidified.
No, it wasn't. It went to Eastman and Laird, who wrote the first Turtle story, and asked them what they would do for the last Turtle story. And we'll get to The Last Ronin. I just want to talk on Mutant Mayhem a bit.
All right.
Because Mutant Mayhem skips over the whole Shredder origin. It's, I hate to say dumbed down, but it is. You just happenstance have this rat and a bunch of baby turtles that get mutated with no backstory. They learn martial arts by watching a bunch of martial arts movies from the 70s and 80s. Nothing wrong with that, but still, though. And it's a very different take. And at the end, they kind of paint themselves into a corner because the turtles are accepted by society and can live above ground and go to high school and everything else. And then you're going to introduce the Shredder. And I'm kind of like, you guys painted yourself into a corner. You know, because story-wise, teenagers who have to live in obscurity because of how they appear is a lot more story-driven than these kids that are socially popular and accepted even though they're mutant freaks. I don't know how it's going to work. At least I will give them credit. They're taking it into a new direction. I don't know if Nickelodeon has a series planned. Kind of feels like they have a series planned or another movie up their sleeve, since the Shredder's kind of revealed at the end. But I mean, it was good for what it was. If it was, you know, if my kids were younger, my kids wanted to go see it, I'd go see it. Al wanted to see it. I like turtles. I went to go see it. They had a drink that glue in the dark via that light up ice cube I showed you. And of course, I'm down for that. $11 and get fucked up. Fucking A, you know? But
that's the thing. It's like everything right now has to be not just kidified. It's got to be kidified to the point that it's pretty much a squishy. That's it. It's a squishy teddy bear sort of thing. And there's no real meat to it. And it has to, or the fact that we want to take turtles to this direction because we want to separate ourselves from the creators. Because if it's too much like the original, we have to pay them more money. If it's our own unique thing, therefore,
the problem of it is
we could acknowledge it, but
as you had mentioned, the last Ronin, extremely popular. I'm a little disappointed because the comics company that puts that out has been actively doing a sequel to it, and it's like you pretty much gave us the definitive end to the original Turtles right there. I'm not trying to spoil anything for anybody or anything of that nature, and they just announced a game. And the comic, like I said, it came from the original writers and creators. To them, it is a continuation of their original Mirage Comics universe because it includes things like Baxter Stockman. It includes things like Karai and the Shredder's family. It includes things, like the Fugitoid from the original comics, which was this robot from another planet that had like a human mind because of a freak accident. And a bunch of really cool things that came from and it was a continuation because basically the concept was if you guys were still writing the comic now, how would you end the series? And this is how Eastman and Laird came up with it. And it's grim, it's gritty, it's dark, it deals with the last turtle. I'm not telling you who it is, but the other three brothers are dead. Master Splinter's gone. And it's basically a straight up vengeance vendetta against Karai's son, which of course is the Shredder's daughter, which makes him an heir to the Foot Clan, and them trying to figure it out. And the turtle character, whose name I'm not going to reveal, basically has a diary that he keeps that's basically on the front of it, it says no peace, like N-O peace. But by the time he meets April O'Neil's daughter, who's named Casey for her father that passed, you obviously know who her father is now. But anyways, he gives this journal so that she can learn everything. And when he hands the journal off, he adds a K and a W at the end. He's like, no peace, not no, as in none, but no peace.
I have the 3 issues or the complete run. I have to go through it, and I know what the spoiler is, but I want to read the whole thing. But one of the great things about that is that when it first came out, I think it was like last year or the year before, the first issue that was on shelves was going for on like eBay for $50, $60, if not more. And I walked into they're not in operation anymore because of the current economic climate. I'll put it like that. He still wants to do shows and stuff on a smaller scale and offload what he has in stock. But what he had like 2 or 3 issues sitting on the shelf. And my other buddy in Pennsylvania was like, yeah, I want to get the last Ronin, the first issue, but it's like $60 on eBay plus shipping and handling. I said, listen, let me check with my supplier, the place here in downtown Martinsburg, because when I checked there, well, I'm sure you know how it is with some shops. Something gets big, it gets kicked off the shelf immediately, and it's put in the back to be sold on eBay. This shop was not like that. This guy was not like that. It stayed on shelf. And I was like, picked it up. How much is this? And he's like, whatever is on the back. It was like $10. I was like, all right, deal. And one of my buddies like, yeah, I'm going to try it on eBay. I'm like, hold on. I got money. Let me check my supplier, see if he's got another copy left. And it wasn't a new print run or anything like that. It was that same first print run. I was like, hey, okay, You got any more copies of The Last Ronin? First one? It's like got one left right on the shelf. I picked it up, put it down, paid him $10 plus tax, sent it to my buddy. Not to mention I have he picked up I think this was late last year is when the action figures came out. And I got the chaser for The Last Ronin chaser. It was like a black and white version of that chaser. I paid $100 for it, and it was one of those things that, oh, I'm getting this. If I got to put this on layaway, I'm putting it on layaway because I want the black and white version of it. And I think he sold all the versions of it because I didn't see it after it took a few months, but it's like I'm snagging it now. It might not be the mint condition box, but it's like very near mint condition box. So one of these days I'll have a better place and I'll have the stuff displayed behind me. So,
but the thing of it is that the Last Ronin comic shows there is an interest, and yeah, we're getting a video game. It's like, don't want a live action series from Netflix. Don't want something on Paramount, because you know how Paramount can be about bullshit. Don't need it to be on HBO. Give me a theatrical ran adult Ninja Turtles movie. I get that Nickelodeon owns the brand now, which kind of sucks. I mean, I'm glad for Kevin Eastman and Peter Lard, but it's one of those things where it's like, I get that everybody has a certain nostalgia for it, but as a kid, it kind of made me feel cool because everybody else had the lame Saturday AM Turtles and the Archie Comics Turtles, and I had the fucking Mirage Turtles. You know what I mean? And to me, that's what made it special.
The thing with, didn't Mirage put out like the Men in Black comics too?
No, that's Malibu.
Okay.
Yep, Malibu did Men in Black and Dinosaurs for Hire. And I'm surprised we haven't gotten a Dinosaurs for Hire movie yet, because that would be kind of cool. Anthropomorphic dinosaurs whose planet gets destroyed, they come to Earth and become mercenaries and bounty hunters. And I'm like, you sold me on the concept. It's like dinosaurs, but with Hawaiian shirts, alcohol, violence. Yes, please. And big fucking like 90s, you know how like in the 90s they have these crazy ass gigantic guns and they're holding them one hand, and you're like, yeah, no way somebody can hold that one handed, let alone fire it without their wrist go flying off to the left, But anyways, yeah, like that's how I feel about adult Turtles. I mean, yeah, it's great. We're dragging in a new generation and new fandoms, and I'm all for that. I don't want to be one of those haters we were talking about earlier. But if that's your intro into Turtles, there are so many different avenues to go down when it comes to Ninja Turtles. It's like the other day I was talking to somebody online who had told me, oh, I really love like the story concepts of the original live action movies. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, it's disappointing that the third one was so low budget in the way that it ended. And I explained what the whole time travel thing was, because there's a whole thing that was supposed to show up in the cartoon and in the comic books as well as the movies to kind of link all three of these universes together, because that's why in Ninja Turtles 3 you see the scroll that shows like Turtles showing up in the past. Well, it wasn't that Dimensions versions of the Turtles showing up in the past. It was another set that showed up in the past, which is kind of cool. And then I mentioned, well, did you know that's not the last movie in the series? And he went, what? And I was like, yeah, technically the computer animated joint, I want to say that came out in 2007 or something like that by Imagi. IMAGI, the same people who put out the Astro Boy computer animated movie. That is a continuation of that story continuity of Turtles. Because at the end of that, they show the busted up Shredder helmet and they show the Time Scepter. And I'm like, that's badass.
Not to mention one of the cartoons kind of showed all the different turtles over the year, animation wise.
Yeah, Turtles Forever.
I enjoyed that Turtles Forever. That I think was it a full length or was it just an episode? Or was it like
it was a full length, but later the show split it into different episodes, and it wasn't the first time that they did it, because you had the Turtles Forever that had, I want to say, like the early 2000s reboot of the Turtles, which was kind of ready and then off in its own direction. That was in a series, and then later on, the computer generated ones that were on Nickelodeon, not the current recently animated one, but the one prior. They had kind of like a Turtles Forever episode where the 80s cartoon one blended in with their universe, and they got stuck in the 80s cartoon universe. And it was kind of cool because it was continuation, because they got Cam Clark back and all the original voice actors. And
the thing is,
aside
I remember
from, of course, what's the name?
The one we're focusing on talking about, not only did they blend the old 80s cartoon with that one, they also brought in the kind of did the black and white adaptation, because they crossed over into that, and they're like, why are you guys so children-fied? Well, why are you so mean? Yeah. But also like the Batman crossover as well.
I just picked that up the other day because Target had it on sale for $10.
So it was done pretty well. I enjoyed it. It was a decent crossover in regards to it. So I'll give Sasha give it a watch, and maybe at some point we'll talk about, chat on it, because I don't want to give any spoilers in regards to it. But I think it was done very well, a little bit. So
okay. I'll have to give it a watch. Like I said, I just picked it up over the weekend because I saw it was like $10 at Target. I'm like, ooh, kind of like how I went to Walmart with Al and we saw like a box set of the Smokey and the Bandit movies, at least 3 of them, like the first 3. Right. And so they were all on Blu-ray for like $10. I'm like, yeah, I got to snag that. I've been